Okay, listen to this, and then I'm going to go through it at the end. It is the audio from Daniel Ricciardo as he finishes the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This is him completing lap 57. He never got to do a 58 because he's taking the checkered flag right now. This little white hut over on the top right side of the screen, which I'm trying to wave my cursor on, is actually waving the checkered flag now. So I'm going to play that through. I can't show you the visuals because it will get blocked, but hopefully you'll get to hear the audio. So here goes.
Okay, buddy, that's the checkered flag. Let's have a recharge on, please. Recharge on. Okay, Daniel, so we finished P12 in the end. Obviously not enough laps, and with the other cars being allowed to go after the safety car, then that pit stop didn't help. Finishing order.
Okay, yeah, I got no idea what they did with letting cars through. Obviously, I wasn't really in that, anyways, but it seems strange.
Yeah, it was a bit unusual. So Perez retired, Daniel. So finishing order: Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, Tsunoda, Gasly, Bottas, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc. Unfortunately, that pit stop at the end, which I think would have been a good idea, didn't work because they only let through some of the cars. Anyway, we're boxed now. When you get to the FIA, then we need to switch the car fully off.
Yeah, understood.
It's still going.
Alrighty. Cheers, guys. I'm glad I'm not a part of that. Whatever just happened, it seemed pretty fucked up. Alright. Thanks, guys, for the season. We'll keep at it.
Yeah. Cheers, Daniel. We're going to get them. We're going to get them next year.
And there the fireworks going off up on the screen there. So that was the audio from Daniel Ricciardo's car as he went round that lap after the race had finished. A couple of things to pick out. And let's put this into context as well, in terms of what McLaren did and the implications. So if we go to this view here, this is where the situation was on lap 53. Okay, if you look along the bottom of the screen, there's this bar at the bottom with all the dots along the line. And what this is, it's the representation of where the cars are around a lap of the track. So over on the left-hand side of the bar is the start of the lap. And as they progress further around that lap, they go further along this line. So where the white dot here, there's MSC at the top and LAT beneath. There is actually a blue dot of Nicholas Latifi being covered by that white dot. That's the battle between Schumacher and Latifi, and they are approaching turn 14, and hence they are at this position late on in the lap. Once they get to this point, then they start the next lap, and their car comes out over here. The undulations, the gains in height, show the gains in gradient. So if there's any gradient, any hill sections effectively around that track, they are represented by the undulations in this line. Anyway, I'm going to play this through. If you look on the positions here, Daniel Ricciardo is in 11th position at this point in time. Okay, now he's a lap down, but he's in 11th position. And you've got to remember that Sergio Perez retires. So therefore, that would have put Ricciardo up to 10th position. I'm going to just play this just so that you get to see anyway what goes on with these dots. And then also, we'll see what the time delay is from what we hear as well. So have a listen in as well. So look at this white dot of Latifi and the white dot is Schumacher. You'll see the blue dot behind it becomes stationary, and that's the point in time where that car has crashed and is stationary. So here we go. Oops, let me put the volume up so you can actually hear the commentary. Here we go.
At the start of this season, it's once again a great recovery because they felt they've been hampered coming into this season by those slight regulation changes.
Wow, that feels like a long time.
Okay, that blue dot, you can see Mick Schumacher's dot has just emerged away from it, and that blue dot is now stationary. So that is 1:28.25. Okay, probably just a second before that. 1:28.25. We'll play it on.
Go, doesn't it? But yes, Mercedes had an awful pre-season test, didn't they? We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no, Nicholas!
Okay, and it's 1:28.32.33. So there's a kind of lag that you're going to get between something actually happened and when they tell you. Okay, that's on a certain incident, perhaps. The lag between the comms in the car and when it truly takes place, or when there's a pre-recorded message that then F1 TV choose to play us, that can be different. That's at their discretion. Anyway, so yellow flag, Latifi's crash, under yellows, no overtaking, as we know. Okay, well, certainly around that point of the track. And then obviously the safety car gets deployed anyway, but there's definitely no overtaking. So like I say, Ricciardo at that point in 11th position. Ken, keep this in mind. 1:28.33. Let's just round figures. 1:28.30, and then if we go to the next screen. In fact, actually, just no. We'll go to the next screen. So 1:29.21. Okay. So this is 50 seconds later. This is tracker view. And you can see at pit entrance is the blue dot of Verstappen and the orange dot of Ricciardo. So we'll play this through.
They'll probably have a lap or two as long as they get it. If they get a vehicle on there and get that out of the way.
And coming into the pits, Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out. Verstappen comes.
And Ricciardo has gone in, which meant Leclerc stayed on track. Vettel stayed on track. And so as he went in, he loses 11th place to Leclerc, and then Vettel goes through as well.
Coming into the pits, and I would imagine there's a set of soft tyres waiting for him to go onto that Red Bull car. Yes, it is.
Box. Negative.
Right, so if there is a restart, Verstappen now has fresh soft tyres. Lewis has heavily.
Although you can see those dots, they are still in that pit lane that goes under the tunnel. They'll actually be back on track just before turn 3.
Use hard compound tyres. They will let any lap runners through on the safety car restart. And
okay, so they're back on track. So what's the input? What's the significance of this? There's a couple of things. You could argue, and it probably is very true, that the McLaren strategist doesn't know what he's doing. Or you could argue it was a gamble that they felt was worth taking. Or you could argue that the way that they actually spoke about it was evidence of them being complicit with what took place. So the different ways of thinking about this. At the point in time where the decision was made, Daniel Ricciardo was in 11th position, and so therefore he's outside the top 10. And they might have taken the approach, we'll pit him for fresh soft tyres, and on the off chance that it restarts, then he'll be in a significantly advantaged position. And if it doesn't restart, not a problem, he's in 11th place, and ultimately he's not in the points anyway. So you could take that approach, and that may be what they've chosen to do. Okay, you're not getting anything. We'll put you on fresh softs, and if it does restart, see what you can get. Okay, that could have been their approach. With knowing that it's not going to restart, which again you don't know at that stage, but it is touch and go, that's for sure. If you're going to lose track position, then if you are on course for points, you wouldn't do it. It's more of a gamble. So in effect, he'd got very little to lose. That said, he did lose, because had he have not pitted, he'd have finished 10th. He'd have got a point scoring position. So McLaren lost out on a point scoring position by choosing to pit Daniel Ricciardo. So those who say, oh, they played some clever cards. Well, it wasn't a free pit stop for McLaren, was it? It wasn't a free pit stop, because when he went into the pits, the cars on track passed him, so he lost position. So it's not so clever in those circumstances, is it? Daniel Ricciardo himself says, well, that was a bit of a messed up situation. He used other words, but he was declaring a messed up situation. But the way the McLaren pit crew, the McLaren engineer, their strategist describes it, was it was due to them, the way that they released the lapped cars, that change onto soft tyres didn't work for you, and that was the reason. That's not the reason. That should have been a safety car finish. Okay, that should have been a safety car finish. And what you've actually done is downplayed the notion of what was truly going on, and you've not called it out for being wrong. Now, are you somehow covering yourself the fact that by choosing to pit when you did, you have actually lost yourself a point? I'm not going to point the finger and say you're a crap strategist on that, because you weren't to know that Perez was going to retire. So at that point in time, it's likely you'd have thought, well, we're on course for 11th, and therefore we're not gaining anything anyway, so why not take the gamble? But the reality is that gamble wouldn't have paid off, because it's a safety car finish. So with it finishing behind the safety car, you finish in that position that you come out after the pit stop in. So, but just the way, and I'm going to see if I can play that again, just the way that the McLaren engineer talks about why it was the strategy didn't work, I think is quite suspect. Yes, he might be covering his own back, thinking, if we hadn't have pitted, we'd have got a point here for 10th. That might have been possible, but it actually seems as though they're just excusing it ending in the way it did, when you know the rules, there's no way it should have ended in the way it did. So I'm just going to replay that little bit back of what the McLaren strategist actually says.
Yeah, it was a bit unusual. So Perez retired, Daniel. So finishing order: Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, Tsunoda, Gasly, Bottas, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc. Unfortunately, that pit stop at the end, which I think would have been a good idea, didn't work, because they only let through some of the cars.
Claims it didn't work because they only let through some of the cars. So didn't mention that they'd not done the mandatory safety car lap after releasing the cars. They didn't release all of the cars. That in itself is wrong. They didn't do the mandatory safety car lap. Didn't call it out. Didn't say what on earth happened there, because that's not permitted within the rules of the sport. What are they saying? Why? That is not a authentic reaction. Because if I was that engineer, if I was doing that job in the McLaren garage, I'd have said, well, what they've just done there is completely against the rules of the sport. So I don't know what they think they're doing there, but actually that will not stand, because there's no way it can stand. That's the authentic reaction to that. It's not a case of, oh yeah, it didn't really work because they only let a few of the cars at the end, as if that's kind of well, that's just what they've decided. What do you know? What do you know that made you react that way? Anyway, there'll be more like this because I'm going to go through the audio of the other drivers, and if anything comes up like this, you're going to see it. Look out for the next one.